What brings you to Valencia this time?
Well, I really wanted to come back. I haven't been back for some time. And Dad fancied a break. And I said, well, do you fancy Valencia? It's a lovely place to go. It's an interesting city. It's warm. It's different.
You said on Facebook that Valencia is one of your favourite cities in the world. What makes it so special for you?
Oh, it's small as a city goes, but it's so concentrated. I said, well, it oozes culture out of every corner. I mean, the Ciudad Bella is absolutely incredible. I mean, the medieval street plan, the architecture, every corner you walk around. Wow.
Have you walked around Barrio del Carmen since you've been here?
I haven't been back to El Carmen. I'll maybe go to El Carmen later.
Apart from teaching, because we met obviously in the British Council, what other jobs have you had?
I've had lots of other jobs. My first job was a car mechanic. Then, well, I taught computing from the early days of personal computers.
How did you get into that?
I was doing a degree with the Open University, and the Open University were pioneers with using computers, and they actually sent you an Amstrad 512 of your very own, and you only had to stick 4 5.25-inch floppy disks into it to get it going.
Didn't they work on punch cards? Or was
that
the post punch card? Because I remember punch cards from being at school.
Yeah.
But it was when they developed it more.
It was the first PC. So the Amstrad was the cheap version of the IBM PC.
Right. But what attracted you to do that course? The Open University course?
It was
Was it a mechanical thing because you wanted to find out how it worked?
It was about a machine, and it was interesting. I mean, I do have quite a scientific and logical mind, and it was something I could understand. I wanted to upgrade my skills, so I'd started to do the degree with the Open University, and it was the course that attracted me the most.
Did that lead to a job?
Yes.
What did you do?
Taught IT.
You taught IT?
I did. Yeah.
In the early days?
In the very early days, yeah. And I started off in a training centre with unemployed people on the old job creation scheme or employment training. Mm-hmm. And after I'd worked there for a few years, I got a job in College of Further Education.
Which part of the UK was this?
In North Wales. So I was an IT teacher when I came to Valencia first. So I came to visit my friend Rod, and he lived in La Cañada. And when I was in La Cañada in the bar, I met some local people. And one of them was a girl called Esther, and she told me, we're coming to England and we're going to go to Ireland. And I said, oh, okay. Oh, where I live is the island where the port is, where you catch the boat to go to Ireland, at the port of Holyhead. I said, so if you like, when you go to Ireland, when you get back to Wales, phone me, and I'll come and pick you up, and you can stop at my house, and I'll show you around North Wales. So, Esther didn't have an awful lot of English at the time, so and I came home and forgot about it. Then one day the phone rang, and it was, oh look, Kevin, Esther, key here, and then, oh look, Kevin, Yeah, soy Begonia, la amiga de Esther. And Begonia had much better English.
But did you know Begonia
I'd
before
never met
that?
Begonia.
You didn't know her
I'd never
before
met Begonia. She was Esther's friend, you know. So I met Begonia, yeah. Fell in love. Eventually, Begonia came to live with me in Wales. But she didn't like it because it wasn't Valencia.
And it was too cold and it rained a lot.
It was cold, it rained a lot, and there was nothing to do. It was boring, yeah. In North Wales, we were living in a town called Llandudno, which I thought, I bet I'll like Llandudno. There's 2 beaches and it's quite lively, seaside, you know. But in the winter, there's no tourism. It just goes dead. And no, Begonia was bored. So I was wondering what to do, and I was looking in the newspaper, in the Times educational supplement, to see if I could find something to do together with Begonia where she'd be happy. And I saw a job advertised in Peru. And they wanted somebody to set up an adult education department and to teach computing. So I arrived in Peru with Begonia. So I was the head of adult education, but there wasn't a department. I had to make it. And I had to advertise and get teachers, and I had to get Cambridge exams.
Did you do any teaching then, or was it mainly administration and running the place?
No, I suddenly became an English teacher.
You taught there in Peru?
I taught English. I wasn't qualified to teach English.
And you hadn't been trained?
No. No.
What was it like?
It was fun. It was fun. I had the Cambridge series of teaching materials. Very good quality. Everything there. You know, the reading, the writing, the listening and the speaking. So I made sure I got that. They also wanted me to use US material, but I didn't.
Kept it British?
Kept it British,
How long were you in Peru?
2.5 years, yeah.
And then you went back to Valencia after?
I came from, I didn't really know, well, unfortunately Begonia and I split up when we were in Peru. So I came to Sevilla to actually do an English teaching qualification. So I did my CELTA.
How long were you in Sevilla?
A month, yeah.
Did you like it?
No.
It's very hot.
Yes, and the people aren't as friendly as Valencia. I found them to be a bit proud and full of themselves, and you know, we're the best people in Spain, and we speak the best Spanish, which is hilarious because they don't finish any words, so you have no idea which tense they're speaking in.
And after Sevilla you came here?
I did, yeah.
Do you miss teaching?
Yes, I do.
What do you miss about it?
I don't know. I like working with people. I used to love the students because they're always so interesting, and everybody has a story to tell, and you know, and there's a wonderful exchange between the student and the teacher. So yeah, I miss that. But it was difficult when I went back to the UK. I tried to get work teaching. I hadn't taught IT for 3.5 years. There wasn't much demand then for teachers of English as a foreign language. No.
What did you like about Peru, and what did you dislike?
Oh wow, Peru was a different world altogether.
Was it your first time in South America?
Yeah. And when we arrived, the civil war had just finished. There had been a war, the state versus the terrorists had been going on for 20 years. and Sendero Luminoso used to, well, they killed ordinary people. And so the army had a very hard reaction against it, and a lot of innocent people were killed. When we arrived, it had just finished. The Japanese president, Alberto Fujimori, had just been elected. And Peru started to change really quickly. Encouragement from the World Bank to sell all the state assets. I heard that one before. Telefónica de España took over the phones. So from having a system where you had to go to the post office and go to a counter and say where you wanted to phone, and they would send you to a booth with a ticket, and the phone would ring in the booth and you'd answer and they'd connect you. Yeah. The year after, there were phones on every street corner that you could phone anywhere in the world.
And now I presume they've got mobile phones,
of course,
and the infrastructure's
yes.
pretty modern.
It's still Telefónica de España.
Spain's still well invested in Peru.
Yes.
Yeah. Telefónica.
Telefónica, yeah.
How did you find the Peruvians as students? Were they shy? Were they quiet? Were they reticent? Were they talkative? Did you have to encourage them to speak, to practice their English?
Most of the students I had, to be honest, I was working for a big gold mine, and the professionals, they were professionals. They mainly worked for Minera Yanacocha. They were from the coast, they were from Lima. So they're quite outward going. They weren't like the people from the Sierra, who were quite reserved. And the indigenous people were very reserved because they'd been oppressed for years.
So the people you were teaching probably had travelled to Europe beforehand, and they'd been exposed to the
West. A lot of them had been to the States.
To the States, and they
mainly the States.
Used to speaking English in a social situation.
Yes,
probably.
The more advanced students, yes. There were some local people that the mine employed as well, not just the engineers and the professionals coming in from Lima. There were local people employed as admin staff, and they were more shy, sort of Andean people.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, in Peru, the coastal people are more excitable, and the Andean people are more conservative. And it's the same in Ecuador. The two main cities, Quito is in the Sierra and is traditionally conservative, and Guayaquil is on the coast and is traditionally very left-wing, very socialist.
Kevin, what is Latin American Dreams, and how did you get involved in the project?
Right, Latin American Dreams is a new business venture that I'm starting up with a Peruvian friend of mine. Because of my knowledge of Peru, I was employed by a small tour company to sell holidays, basically, mainly internet through a website. And I got laid off by that company because the business wasn't doing so well. And then a few months later, Jose, who is my colleague, my ex-colleague and my friend.
He's Peruvian?
He's Peruvian, yes. He's married to a British woman. So he lives in North Wales.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He lives in a village about 10 miles away from me.
You're almost neighbours?
Well, we are neighbours. We live on the same island. So that's neighbours there, you know. It's not the vecino that you're looking in his window. It's a bit different in North Wales.
So what plans do you have for the new company?
We're going to carry on with the tourist business, specialising in holidays to Peru and Latin America in general. I mean, there's so much to see in Latin America. and it's very diverse. There are still places that are very little developed. You can go and you can see people living traditionally. There are some places that are very developed. If you go to Cusco, you know, or if you go to Lima, Lima is now as developed as many European cities, and it's actually got a name as being the gastronomic capital of South America.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fusion of different cooking styles, and then the quality of the raw materials, the vegetables and the fruit and the meat that's available. So it's a fusion movement, and there always was fusion food in Peru. There's Peruvian chifa, which is Chinese influenced Peruvian food, which is very interesting because Jose told me, you only get chifa in Peru. And I said, what's that? He said, chifa. I said, I cooked that.
So what would a person getting in touch with Latin American Dreams through the website, what would that person expect as a service? What were you providing for them?
Well, we will have fixed departure itineraries, which would be the normal places that you would visit. But we're hoping to emphasise and specialise in custom itineraries. People come to us and say, I've always fancied going to such and such a place. Can you do that for me?
So you're not specialising in groups of tourists. It's
really,
more of a tailor-made type of holiday.
Definitely tailor-made.
Is there any limit on time?
No.
So basically, whatever somebody wants, you could probably arrange it for them within Peru.
Yes.
What about other countries in the area?
I know Ecuador pretty well now. I went to Ecuador last October as a guest of the largest tour operator in Ecuador.
So you're planning on concentrating on Peru and Ecuador?
No. I'm going to Bolivia this October. I've been to Bolivia before. Obviously, when I lived in Peru, I travelled the area.
So you have got contacts in the region?
We've got contacts, yeah. We've got a very good contact in La Paz for Bolivia. The thing was, the other firm that Jose and myself worked for, the owner had no vision. He'd been doing it too long. He was boring. You go here, 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 here. And then people would say, I want to go there. No, that's impossible. You can't go
not
there.
Included in your itinerary?
No.
So you're planning to be more flexible and include more destinations?
Totally. You know? And that way we get more out of it. And I mean, when you're putting a tour together with a customer, you talk to them on the phone, you send emails, and it's very interactive. It's very personal. And it's sort of like the relationship I used to have with my students when I was teaching. And that's the idea, Craig. It's the same skills.
What do you do with your free time these days?
Most of my free time is trying to stop my allotment from becoming overgrown.
What things do you grow?
Oh, all sorts of things. I did grow more of a variety in the past because I had my younger sister used to help me, but she's in a relationship now, so I don't see Karen very much. So I have to do all the work myself, and it's a big piece of land. But this year, so far, I've put potatoes, garlic, 3 types of garlic, and 2 types of onions.
I didn't know there were 3 types of garlic.
Oh, yes.
North Wales isn't known for its climate. Do you go out in the rain? Do you work on?
Yes.
Do you work in the rain?
You have to work in the rain. Last year was very difficult because it rained so much, and
you got flooded.
We got flooded, and I didn't grow a lot at all. The onions were a disaster because there wasn't enough sun. The potatoes were good.
Any tomatoes?
I had tomatoes at home in the greenhouse.
Oh, you got a greenhouse?
I've got
too?
a greenhouse. I made a greenhouse in the garden. So I've got a nice garden, and the garden is for wildlife. So I've sown a meadow with a lot of different grasses and plantain and wildflowers, and that's for the butterflies and the bees. And I've got my bird feeders, so I get a lot of different birds in the garden.
Sounds lovely. I'd love to visit.
It is. Well, you'll have to come and visit me, Craig, and bring Angeles and do it in the middle of the summer when there's a chance that it's not going to be sub-zero and the poor girl will freeze.
Kevin, what makes you happy?
Oh, people, communicating with people, travelling, different places, different cultures. Yeah, that makes me happy.
What makes you sad?
Oh, injustice. There's too much.
Which famous person, dead or alive, would you like to have dinner with, and what would you ask them?
That's a good one. How about John Lennon? You'd ask him, how do you sleep at night? Because that always struck me. I mean, when that song was written.
Which song?
How do you sleep at night?
I didn't know that was one of his songs.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was recorded in Virginia Water. You know the one where Yoko stood by the white grand piano?
No.
There's one. It was in Virginia Water, in a mansion, and a white grand piano, and John and Yoko in white, all in white, and he's singing. Imagine, as well. That was there. Yeah. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. Well, I wonder if you can, John, if you're
with all this
sitting in your mansion,
abundance.
this working class Liverpool lad. Yeah.
What do you think of Paul McCartney?
Not very fond of Paul McCartney. He was always the commercial one. Ringo was the clown, and George and John were the philosophers.
Kevin, if you could change something about yourself, what would you change?
Something about myself now, or any time in my life?
Something about yourself now,
Okay.
who you are.
Who I am. I'd like to be able to speak Spanish better.
Your Spanish, as I remember, was very good.
I haven't practiced it for 12 years, really. And I wasn't too bad in Ecuador, because in South America people speak much more slowly. No, when I lived in Valencia, my Castellano was fluent, and I was starting to learn Valenciano. I could understand everything that somebody was saying in Valenciano and answer them in Castellano. But since then I haven't practiced it. There's not much call for.
I suspect that might change with the advent of your new project.
It certainly will, and I've been practicing more recently. Yeah.
If you had €6,000 to spend on yourself, what would you buy?
€6,000. I'd probably buy a new camera.
I thought it would be technology.
Maybe a new computer.
What would you get? Would you get a Mac? You could with that much money.
Yes, but I don't like Macs. I know how to do everything with a PC. I can take them apart, put them together. I'm not a technology junkie. I like technology as a tool. You use it.
But you're not chasing after every new innovation that comes out on the market.
That's just consumerism.
It's a vicious circle.
Yeah. And of course the other thing I'd do with the €6,000, I'd buy a ticket to
Peru.
Or Ecuador. But as I say, I'm going to Peru and Bolivia in October with a railway tour.
Is there a country in Central and South America that you haven't visited that you'd like to see?
Yes, I'd like to visit Brazil. Yeah. Brazil looks fascinating, but I'd have to learn Portuguese then.
Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you. I found them to be a bit proud and full of themselves, and you know. And when we arrived, the Civil War had just finished. And I got laid off by that company because the business wasn't doing so well.